Welcome back, everyone. So today we're doing some pirating, a little non-consensual PvP, at least for one party involved. Pirating's back, obviously, in a pretty big way for those that have been playing 4.2.1. I don't usually partake in pirating necessarily. I am part of an org that does PvP, so this is something that they like to explore. But given the missions are just so scuffed right now, I can't do anything that I want to be doing. So I might as well pirate, right? So the part of this is on CIG, I would say, because the missions are so bad. There's just strictly the hauling missions. So you're either doing the hauling, you're able to get the mission and doing that, or you're getting pirated. That's largely what's going on, I think, right now. You're maybe doing, there's the third option, which is just not partaking at all, or you're not playing, which is also an option. Do I wish that there was maybe some PvE servers? Yeah, I can see the reasons behind that. I never really did that with World of Warcraft. That was an option. You had PvP and PvE servers. But I understand the context of that, and if people wanted that, private servers, all that stuff would be great. But unfortunately, that's not the world we live in. We do have PvP servers. I like to use the Firebird here, so you can see that we're using that here. Regardless of the meta, I just like the Firebird. For some reason, I just like it. I like the stealth aspect of it. I like missile gameplay. So the only problem is missile gameplay has been totally scuffed as of this patch as well. They've really made missiles terrible, and you see the locking has not been working right. So half the time I go to lock, I'll launch, and right before I launch, it'll have dropped the lock. And it's not because people are throwing chaff or anything. It just is what it is. And then on top of that, right, people are just going to chaff and flare anyways, so this missile is just totally off because they flare it. But that being said, this C2 is fairly well crewed. There's 4 people on here, so this was a fun one. I hope they had somewhat of a good time, all things considered. They're grenading here. They've got defensive positions. From their perspective, possibly next time be a little bit more aggressive. There was only 2 of us actually trying to board. Usually with pirating, you have to have people stay out and guard, and so there's a lot going on with pirating, and we'll talk about some of those aspects, right? So there's bounty hunters that are constantly coming in because everybody's got crime stats, so people are coming in constantly to try to kill the pirates. So pirate people think, oh, it's easy, and they're just griefing, but there's a lot going on. There's a lot of complexity, and I think, again, this is where I go to, this is alpha. If you're interested in all in trying it, I think it's worthwhile trying, at least to understand how it works from a perspective of how to counter it. And a lot of that has to do with learning how to dogleg, which is jump to different areas. As you see, we're near the planet side, so we're really picking people off as they're hauling it away. But being mindful of what the signs are that you're being interdicted, whether you see the warning or not, whether that's working correctly. If you've got the QT up, you don't even see quantum markers, you're being interdicted, right? So there's some signs you need to have. As well as it'd be good to know that the ship you can't enter. Right now there's a bug. It's meant to be a bug, from what I'm understanding. It's not meant to stay this way, but for trespassing, if people do get on a ship, it does cause them to relocate. So that's something to be mindful of. As you see here, we're quite a bit of downtime when I'm trying to res def here, and they're not being aggressive. Unfortunately for them, fortunate for us, but they're not being aggressive here at all, as we now have a third guy coming in to help us out with these 4, because we're outnumbered by 2 to 1. So they had an opportunity here to be more aggressive. Obviously, they didn't choose this time to do all this, so they weren't ready for it. But it's something to, again, be mindful of, that you can actually be a bit more aggressive. Could have maybe wiped us there and maybe had a better experience. They can't really get away, so they're just trying to let us have it a little bit. So good on them. I hope they had a good time. Good fights to them. I hope they had at least somewhat. Obviously, they're not having currently a good time, but maybe they'll look back and go, oh, that was kind of cool, right? I got pirated, and I don't know. I don't mind it that much, to be completely honest, but I'm also mostly solo, so it's not like I can put up a good fight like this. But I didn't lose my mind if I got pirated. It's just okay, I'll just go again, right? It's kind of like World of Warcraft when you die and you've got the hardcore gameplay. People just go again, right? You're just gonna play the game. It's just a game after all. So yeah, we ended up looting that all up. That was a good time. But again, as I mentioned before, pirates is a pretty big deal. So I like the Firebird because I can do somewhat of recon because of my stealth capabilities. So being able to scan constantly and keep track of things. This here, Yogi was being hunted and had no idea. And I was like, I think you got someone behind you. And sure enough, by the time I saw it, I was able to send a missile out. But it was just funny. I was like, I think I see a signature behind you. And I don't think it's you. And he's like, no, I think I'm good. And all of a sudden he's getting fired at. So it was pretty funny. I was able to save him a bit here with this missile. I don't think I got the kill, but obviously he gets quite deaded after that missile hit him. So I think he ends up getting the kill at the end there. But it was a good time. So pirates are going to constantly come streaming in, and they're going to get a jump marker to you. This is one of our pickups here. Def, the guy that I rezzed earlier in that video, is the one that captured this footage. I do an alternate view here in a second, But once you get out in space, it's a little easier to load these boxes up. We actually were able to get everything from this caterpillar. We actually interdicted and we were able to take down both this C2 you're going to see in a second and this caterpillar at the same time. I was actually part of the crew that helped kill the C2 more so than the caterpillar. This caterpillar, as you saw, the boxes were thrown together and prepped for us to be picked up by the Polaris in the hangar prior to us getting there. So we had cleaned up the C2 and then we came over here to gather the rest of the caterpillar stuff and make our way out. So unfortunately for these guys, but they'll just do another mission and they'll be fine next time, I think. I mean, we are done pirating, so you're not always going to get pirated. More often than not, you won't. You'll probably only remember the times you do get pirated, but it's not like it's that prolific. It's just something that occasionally happens. So with the C2 here, there was a lowly pilot. I don't remember the caterpillar. I feel like it had more people, but I don't recall exactly how many. But the C2 is just this guy here, and he didn't necessarily make the best choices as far as defending it. But again, there's not much he can also do. So there's at least a couple of us. So we went about killing him. At the end, he did charge us. So, before earlier I mentioned, like, hey, sometimes maybe get aggressive with it. And he does. He gives it his all. He's like, you know what? YOLO. So, I mean, I can respect that. Dude gave it a go. So at this point, we've unloaded this, and we're going to load it back up in the Polaris. The problem we ran into, though, is server errors. So up next here, we'll start to see, this is the biggest problem I have, obviously, with Star Citizen. I like to play solo. I like to play as a group, too, but the biggest problem I have when playing as the group, and server errors aren't really associated with that per se, because us being as a group doesn't necessarily mean the server is going to error more than it would have otherwise. This is just because Hurston's a hotbed. We decided to go drop off at Hurston because most of us wanted those paints, so and turn-ins, and so that was the winning pick for our fairly large group, and so that's what we went with. But again, I just commonly find it's just unfortunate when you start doing gameplay like this that we're dependent upon things working in a correct enough way for most of us so that we can get things done in an efficient way with everyone's time. And this kind of leads to the time sink problem that Star Citizen has, where if you're not just being picked up by the tedium of like having to load boxes and stuff like that, those themselves are time sinks. Even things like this is also unintended time sinks that you have to kind of deal with. And at the end of the day, we actually couldn't get any. I mean, both of these clips I get, they're not total 10 minutes here, but they were shot 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes apart. And at the end here, you can see that the third time we tried, I don't know why we decided the third time would be the charm, but we ended up up under our corp from the hangar. So somehow we had started to going under the planet or something. So this whole thing is scuffed, right? So we didn't even get a chance to loot all these boxes. They're currently still with the player that originally loaded them in this Polaris, so we'll get them at a later date. I'm not even concerned with that. I'm just interested in the experience of playing the pirating and kind of getting into it. But anyways, I hope this was useful for you. Again, if you want a whole video about how to maybe deal with pirates and prevent pirating, we can definitely do a video on that. But for now, this just kind of shows you the state of pirating as it is. So I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.